Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about having a Gemini Sun and an Aries Ascendant in a natal chart. Now, this combination can be auspicious because these are both masculine signs, and as far as by sign, they're two apart, and that is positive. And when you look at this, a lot of it depends on the aspects as well, but I'll get into that momentarily. And what you have is somebody that probably is going to be a little bit more disputatious and argumentative than typical Gemini Sun, probably a little bit less adaptable, a more fiery temperament. The Aries rising could bring the Gemini talkativeness and loquaciousness out really strong, and the person may be able to talk about manifold subjects and a variety of topics, but can be very outspoken and come out of very outspoken and very assertive in speaking about these things, regardless of what subject is talked about, and will show a very strong ability to be forthright and sometimes blunt in this manner. And many of you may know the late Joan Rivers. She had Gemini Sun and an Aries Ascendant, and she was she was the prototypical Gemini Sun, Aries rising, at least I think, in my opinion, because you remember, I think her catchphrase was something like, "Can we talk?" And she wasn't afraid to speak her mind and obviously be very voluble in the process in this. Now, you look at this combination, okay? The sun in our natal charts can represent our basic wants, while the rising sign or ascendant can show the method or manner in which we attain them. Now, having a Gemini Sun, the basic wants can be strongly connected with communication, of course, being able to have mental stimulation, being able to be like that perpetual learner, having some kind of variety in life, and being versatile in being well informed on a variety of subjects. Now, the Aries rising is often can show that manner in which this is attained in this example. And perhaps this is done through being forthright, aggressive, being very assertive, speaking one's mind, asking the questions aggressively, and learning perhaps in this manner. Now, Aries is a sign that can flourish perhaps as we're being a soldier, someone in the military. In the military, if you join the service, you can there are courses, I believe, in communication, and many, and this could be a person that might show leadership capacity in some Gemini type in maybe a Gemini type field, such as being like maybe some kind of manager or supervisor in some kind of information technology or data communications group. Even a talk show host can be an example. I believe Joan Rivers was a talk show host, if I'm not mistaken, but correct me if I'm wrong in that. And she definitely showed some leadership qualities, so to speak, I think, as far as her talking goes, and really as far as it comes out, the Gemini and the Aries, I think, was very strongly amalgamated in her personality. Now, I like to, when you look at this, the aspects are significant, and now the signs they're compatible by signs, but if you have a sextile or semi-sextile, this will help integrate these signs a little bit better. Now, let's say, for example, somebody was to have a Gemini Sun at 24 degrees and an Aries Ascendant at 22 degrees. This would be positive and auspicious, and these energies can integrate very favorably, even more so than the typical Gemini Sun and Aries Ascendant combo. Now, another example can be the semi-sextile. Let's say, for example, someone was to have a Gemini Sun at 0 degrees, and an Aries Ascendant at 29 degrees. That would be a semi-sextile. It's slightly positive. It has a good harmonious blending, but not as intensified as having a sextile aspect. Now, in some cases, the person that has this combination could actually have an out of sign square aspect. For example, someone with the Sun in Gemini at 29 degrees and an Aries Ascendant at 1 degree. And that would form an out of sign square aspect, which could be adversarial. And this person might feel sometimes feelings of being misconstrued or misunderstood as well, because what they're projecting outwardly, they may feel is a lot stronger than what's going on inside of the person. And also a semi-square aspect can take place on occasion. Let's say the person has a Gemini Sun at 0 degrees and an Aries Ascendant, let's say Gemini Sun at 15 degrees and Aries Ascendant at 29 degrees. This would form a semi-sextile aspect, which would be slightly adverse, and you might not have the energy as harmonious as opposed to having a sextile aspect. And this could indicate what I stated before with the out of sign square aspect. There can be perhaps that feeling of being misconstrued or misunderstood at times, and the energies might not integrate as well. Now, also it's important to look and see what house the Sun in Gemini resides in. In many cases, somebody with a Gemini Sun and Aries Ascendant will have the Sun posited in the first, second, or third house. Now, the Sun in the first house can show where the Gemini energy might come out more strongly than the typical Gemini Sun Aries rising combination, because it would be in the house of the outer personality. So you would see the more vivacious qualities of Gemini and the eloquence coming out more strongly in the outer personality. Now, if it's in the second house, the Gemini, the need for versatility and variety can come out strongly in monetary matters, in their possessions and their resources, and perhaps in ways that they generate income. If the Sun is posited in the third house, you could see a strong, it would be in its Sun in Gemini would be in the natural house for Gemini in the third, and you could see the energy coming out strongly, the Gemini energy coming out strongly in matters connected with communications, and also with siblings if applicable, if the person has them, and perhaps with neighbors. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for having the Sun in Gemini and Aries Ascendant in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about having the Sun in Gemini and a Taurus Ascendant in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.